I pulled my suitcase through the rain. Water poured off the roof like milky white strings, lashing against my freezing legs. The bus was 40 minutes late. The driver didn't bother to apologize. A dog barked madly behind a fence as I walked past. I remember thinking, that's a bad sign. Looking back now, maybe I was right, because that was the day I took the job that nearly got me killed. At the time, I had just graduated with a geology degree. No job, no money, living off instant noodles and cheap coffee in a moldy apartment lit by a weak yellow bulb. My father once told me, if someone pays in cash and doesn't ask your name, you probably shouldn't say yes. I laughed. Now I know he was right. Then one day, an old friend messaged me. That's how it all began. He said a survey team needed an extra hand. 10 days out in the Central American jungle. Help with measurements, take notes, carry equipment. $5,000, paid in cash. I didn't ask many questions. All I heard was, 10 days, cash, $5,000. And I said yes. 2 weeks later, I landed in Guatemala City. A bald man in a gray shirt came to pick me up. His name was Gray. He tossed a backpack at me, like testing my reflexes. You know how to use a GPS? I nodded. Good. Don't ask too many questions. Do your job. Sleep early. He turned away, leaving me standing in the smell of fuel and wet pavement. My first impression of the team wasn't great. There were 5 of us. Gray, the lead archaeologist, quiet, strict, never smiled. Sasha handled logistics, blonde ponytail, sharp eyes, polite in a way that said she'd seen some serious things. Nico, the tech guy, carried a whole suitcase just for batteries, cameras, and cigarettes. Tomas, the local guide, spoke little, eyes always on the jungle like he was hearing something we couldn't. And me, the newbie who had never slept more than one night outdoors. The afternoon we left, Sasha helped adjust my backpack straps. Don't tighten it too much, she said, half joking. You'll hate this thing after the first day. Nico lit a cigarette and laughed. $5,000 for 10 days out there? In this Sierra Verde or whatever? Tomas looked at him, didn't laugh. The people here call it something else, he said quietly. The mouth of the hunger god. Nobody said anything after that. Just the sound of light rain on the tin roof and the smell of tobacco in the air. That night, we stayed in a small border town. I was given a hand-drawn map of the survey site. No place names, no markers. Just a few notes scribbled in the margins. Unusual terrain. Suspected ancient bedrock. And one smudged line, barely legible. Do not cross this boundary without Gray's approval. I looked out the window. Tomas sat on the porch, silently watching the tree line. I asked if he'd been on this route before. He answered, voice steady and low. No. People here say, that place swallows you. I thought he was joking, but he didn't smile. Back then, I thought this would be an easy trip. Do some work, get paid, come home with a good story to tell. I didn't know. Some places, once you enter, there's no way out. Things started to feel off on the 3rd day in the jungle. We crossed a narrow valley where ceiba roots tangled like sleeping snakes. The ground was damp and slick. Each step made a sound like stepping on raw meat. The air smelled of rot, so wet that every breath felt like I was drinking mud. There was no trail. Tomas led the way, hacking through the vines with a machete. Thick vines, like a living net. Mud clung to our boots. Sweat poured down in streams. Mosquitoes buzzed right against our ears. A small snake slithered across my foot, gone in an instant, swallowed by the roots. Around midday, Tomas slipped. He stepped near a deep crack in the ground, and the edge gave out. I lunged and grabbed his wrist just before he fell. His fingernails tore into my arm. Sharp pain. Skin broken. We collapsed together in the mud, gasping, our sweat mixing with dirt, sliding down to the forest floor. Nico laughed, trying to break the tension. "If you'd fallen," he said, "I'd at least get it on camera." A few nervous chuckles, then silence. A distant metallic sound broke it. Nico was tapping a root with his shovel. It rang hollow, like a drum buried under the earth. We all froze. Nobody spoke. For a few seconds, the only thing filling the silence was the thick hum of insects. Tomas knelt down. He brushed off a thin layer of soil, revealing a rounded mound, knee-high. "Not natural," he said quietly. "Soil's too soft here. And look, it's too perfect a shape." Gray crouched beside him, pulled a small trowel from his pack. He started digging. Slow, careful strokes, like he was afraid to damage whatever was beneath. A few minutes later, metal hit stone. He swept the mud aside. A flat surface emerged, light gray, clean, squared edges. I crouched beside him to help. With my bare hands, the dirt clung tight, cold, gritty. As I scraped, one sharp corner cut my middle finger. Blood welled up. I flinched, but Gray didn't notice. A drop fell onto the stone, spread out dark red, then vanished, as if the stone had swallowed it. We kept digging. Roots tore. Gravel scraped metal. Our breathing turned ragged. And slowly, its shape revealed itself. Not just a rock, but the top of something buried. A structure. A stone step. Maybe a temple base. Then Nico called out, his voice urgent. We ran to him. Through the tall grass, we found the remains of an old camp. A torn tarp flapped in the breeze, tied to a low tree. Beneath it, a collapsed tent filled with dead leaves and animal bones. A GPS device lay in the dirt, covered in moss, its battery corroded. Beside it, a faded backpack. Inside were a few Polaroid photos, almost completely blurred, just smudged silhouettes. Faces stretched out, distorted. The smell, rust and mold, mixed thick in the air. In the pocket of a jacket hanging from a tree root, I found an old notebook. The paper had yellowed, the cover crusted with dry mud. One page read, in shaky handwriting, Day 6, blood offered. The god is beginning to open its eyes. One of us is no longer himself. I read it out loud. No one said a word. No nervous laughs. Even the insects felt distant now, like the forest itself was holding its breath. For a moment, I remembered a mine collapse when I was 10, when they pulled the first body out. Mud, blood, rust. It smelled exactly like this. That memory came back, heavy, cold, pressing on my chest. That night, back near the stone base, Nico called us again. He'd found a small gap between the roots. Cold air was coming out. We dug deeper. The soil grew harder until we hit a massive slab. It was dark, charred black, like burnt coal. When I touched it, my skin stung, a cold burn. There were markings carved deep into the surface, spirals, interwoven symbols. Not Maya, not Aztec, not like anything I'd seen before. Gray stared at it for a long time, his lips pressed tight. Then he whispered, mostly to himself, "This isn't a language. It's a seal." No one answered. The jungle fell completely silent. I could hear my heartbeat. Even the wind stopped. The insects, gone. Time seemed to fold. Only the flashlight beam remained, shining on the black stone. Heavy, cold, like it was waiting. Gray bent down slowly. His fingers traced the carvings, barely trembling. His mouth moved, murmuring words that didn't sound like anything I knew. Latin, maybe, but twisted, broken. Even as we packed up, he stayed behind, still writing in his small leather notebook, the page filled with strange symbols, like he was afraid to forget, afraid of what he had just remembered. We set up camp beside the slab. Even with night falling, no one wanted to stop working. The sounds of shovels, torn roots, breathless silence between. The air was thick. Flashlights stuck in the dirt cast shadows over the stone, black and dense as oil. Tomas stood at the jungle edge, eyes fixed on the slab. I asked him, "Have you seen anything like this before?" He shook his head, then spoke softly, voice rough, like wind passing through leaves. "We have a legend about places the forest swallows, things with no name, no way out. They call them the mouths of the hunger god. No one should enter." No one laughed, not even the forest. He turned and walked away, didn't say another word. I stared at the black slab, thought of the blood that vanished into it. And in that moment, I swear, I heard breathing, soft, far below, like something was listening. It took us over a day to clear away the dirt, roots, and rubble covering the black stone slab. When we finally shifted it with the pulley system, a square pit opened beneath. Thick, cold air rushed out, hit my face like air from a freezer. Heavy, wet, the opposite of the jungle's hot, sticky heat. A narrow stone staircase spiraled down, slick with moss, damp like frog skin. Gray turned on his headlamp. Tomas led. I went last. Their shadows danced on the walls, trembling like they were moving in the opposite direction. Every step echoed, then echoed again. No one said a word, but we all heard it. About halfway down, Sasha slipped. I caught her wrist just in time. Her hand was ice cold. Her flashlight bounced off the stone steps, then went dark. Darkness surged in, thick like liquid. "I can't see anything," she gasped. We froze. Only breath and the faint drip of distant water. Then Gray's voice, low, calm. too calm, like it was coming from under the floor. Turn the lights back on, keep going. His calmness was the scariest part. At the bottom was a narrow hallway, about 2 meters high. The stone walls were rough, covered in dark green moss. The air was thick, old metal mixed with damp soil. When I touched the wall, it burned cold. We walked for maybe 40 meters, every step heavier. It felt like the air was getting thicker, like something didn't want us there. And yet, I didn't stop. I don't know why. Something inside me kept pulling forward, like a door was opening. Not just out here, but inside me too. It was like a voice, far away, but strangely familiar. Too familiar. The hallway opened into a round chamber, wide, nearly 6 meters tall. No windows, no natural light. Only our flashlights glinting off the walls. In the center was a circular stone well, about 3 meters wide, no visible bottom. Tomas picked up a small rock, dropped it in. 1, 2, 3. Then a faint click. Tiny. Distant. Silence stretched out after, but not empty. It was a silence that had a sound. From the mouth of the well, the cold air thickened, heavier now. Surrounding the well were 6 stone platforms, each one carved with the image of a kneeling figure, hands outstretched toward the well, as if offering something. At the far end, near the wall, stood a statue, nearly 3 meters tall, jet black. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, just a smooth face. And in the center of its forehead, a deeply carved eye, open. Lines spiraled out from it, like rays of light. I stared at it longer than I should have. I don't know why, but it felt familiar, like I had stood in front of it before, in some faded dream I couldn't remember. A wave of dizziness passed through me. I couldn't look away, not from that smooth face. It felt like it was staring back, not with eyes, with something deeper. Then Sasha tugged my hand. Her touch was warm. It snapped me out of it. "I don't like this place," she whispered. Her hand was shaking, and that's when I realized. Neither did I. My heart pounded, not from fear exactly, but something else. Something familiar, halfway between a chill and a craving. I didn't know if I was curious or being called. I blinked. The air around the well had grown colder. From across the room, Tomas spoke, quiet but clear. "The old ones in the village say, the jungle has a mouth, and if you make it open, it will remember your name." No one responded. The room seemed to thicken. Even the silence felt alert, like the entire forest was listening. Gray walked the edges of the chamber, running his fingers across the carvings. He didn't shake, didn't speak much. Our lights caught his face. Too calm, like he'd seen this place before. He stopped at the 3rd platform, ran his fingers over the symbols carved into it. "A sacrificial temple," he murmured. "Not Maya, not Aztec. Something older, maybe from a civilization that was never recorded." I asked. "Should we seal the well?" Gray shook his head. "No. If this is the ceremonial center, we need to observe. Record any changes. The energy flow may still be active." The way he said energy, it sent a cold pulse down my spine. We climbed back up before nightfall, set up camp about 30 meters from the entrance, close enough to watch it, far enough to pretend we were safe. That night, I couldn't sleep. The air around the camp felt heavier. Still, the jungle wind died early. Even the insects went silent, sooner than usual. I stared toward the stone pit. My flashlight barely touched the edge, then vanished into the dark. I heard something. No. I felt it. Something was rising from deep below, and it was looking straight at us. Around 3 a.m., I woke up. I don't know if it was a sound or a dream. There was this strange noise, like fabric dragging across stone, faint, hidden behind the wind. I unzipped the tent, slow. Cold air rushed in, smelled like damp soil and old rust. Through a thin layer of mist, I saw Tomas. He was walking toward the tunnel entrance, flashlight off, arms loose at his sides. His steps were slow, even, like he was sleepwalking. I tried to call out, but my throat locked up. The sound caught in my chest. From the tent next to mine, Sasha whispered, "Is he okay?" I didn't answer, just watched his silhouette fade into the fog. A moment later, I heard her zipper close. Soft, so soft, like she didn't want to wake the forest. Next morning, Tomas was gone. His tent was still there. Backpack, boots, everything untouched. Nico launched the drone. He'd set it to record overnight. The footage showed Tomas descending the stone steps, deeper into the ruins. No flashlight. His figure dimmed, then vanished into black. In the video timeline, just pure, dense darkness, like the jungle had swallowed him whole, like it closed its mouth behind him. We went down to the stone chamber. One of the 6 platforms had a dark red stain, still wet, still cold when I touched it. The statue, the black god, now had a crack running through its smooth face. The crack curved upward, like a smile. Gray stood there for a long time, not panicked, just writing. Muttering to himself, "The ritual is advancing, just like their notes said." I felt a cold spike crawl down my spine. That afternoon, Nico started saying strange things. He said he saw another camp, a few miles from ours. "Exactly the same," he whispered. "Same layout, same wind direction. And in the tent, I saw myself, sleeping." His voice trembled, eyes wide, like he'd just woken from a dream, but couldn't shake it. Sasha tried to find a way out. The GPS spun in circles. No matter where we stood, it kept pointing back to the ruins. We hiked out a few hundred meters, turned it on again. Still the same, like the jungle was folding in on itself, pulling us back to the center. Second night. The air turned thick, heavy with iron and wet soil. I stepped out to pee. No wind, barely a breeze. Then I heard footsteps, soft, steady. A few meters behind me, I stopped. They stopped. I walked again. The steps followed, half a beat behind mine, like someone was copying me, just slightly off. I turned. No one. Only thick trees and the dim glow of the tents. That's not the wind. I tried to move faster, but the steps kept pace, always half a second behind. Just before going back into my tent, I looked down. Only one set of footprints, but doubled, as if someone had been walking with me, stepping in my exact tracks. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw myself at the bottom of the well, looking up. And something was staring down, patient, silent, just waiting for me to finally open my eyes. By noon the next day, the air around camp felt heavy, like lead. No one spoke. We just listened to the wind, dry, thin, like the breath of someone sick. Sasha sat by the radio, trying to get a signal. All she got was a long, broken hiss, then silence. It sounded like someone's throat trying to breathe. Gray sat a few feet away, his back turned, eyes fixed on that old leather notebook. The weak light hit half his face, pale, tight, feverish. He kept flipping pages, then stopped on a circular symbol, drawn over smeared ink. His hand trembled slightly, then went still. There was something in his expression, like he'd found something sacred or forbidden. No one dared speak. The wind circled the camp again, dry, cutting, like the forest was exhaling. Then Gray slowly closed the notebook, lowered his head, as if listening to a voice only he could hear. When he looked up, his lips moved, and I caught the words, faintly. Blood opens eyes, eyes show the way. No one asked what he meant. The silence grew thick, almost alive. It felt like everyone had heard it, but no one wanted to admit it. Sasha glanced at me, eyes unfocused, then quickly looked down. For a long time, there was nothing but the wind. Finally, Nico spoke, his voice hoarse, low, like he just wanted to break the silence. We need to go down there, find Tomas. If he's alive, he might be trapped. He didn't look at us, only at the tunnel. His hand gripped the hammer so tight, his knuckles turned white. And I realized we were all holding on to something simple, something human, just to avoid thinking about what Gray had said. Sasha shook her head. If he were alive, she whispered, he'd have answered by now. She hesitated. Her eyes stayed on the ground. There's something wrong down there. I'm not going. I didn't speak. I didn't want to go either. But sitting here in silence felt worse. The air around the camp was thick, still, like the forest itself was waiting for us to decide. Then Gray stood up, said nothing. He grabbed his flashlight and walked straight toward the tunnel. The beam slid across the ground, cold light cutting through the trees. His shadow stretched long, bent across the stone steps. We looked at each other. No one said it, but we all followed. Underground, the air was dense and cold. Each step echoed, then came back, half a beat late. When we reached the chamber, the stone well was there, still and black, like it had been waiting. The carvings on the walls, The ones that were faint yesterday looked deeper now, like someone had been etching them through the night. Sasha lifted her light. "This isn't moss," she whispered. "It's dried blood." Gray crouched down, touched the platform. "It's waking," he said, his voice low, almost inhuman. None of us spoke. Nico's hand tightened around his hammer. His flashlight shook. "Gray," he whispered. "What are you hearing?" Gray didn't answer. He stood at the edge of the well, pulled out a knife, and sliced deep across his palm. Blood fell, drop by drop, into the dark below. Blood opens eyes. Eyes show the way. His tone was calm. No fear, no pain. Like he was speaking to someone waiting below. The air changed. Cold wind rose from the well, carrying the stench of rust and rot. Our flashlights flickered. The light pulsed, shrinking, as if the dark was breathing in. The walls began to sweat. Not water, something thicker, darker, flowing upward. Sasha stumbled back, gasping. "Gray, stop! What are you doing?" I shouted. "Gray, step away! We're sealing it up!" No response. He kept staring into the pit. Cold mist coiled around his legs, thick as smoke, rising higher. The ground trembled. Small stones rolled off the platform, falling into the endless dark. Nico rushed forward, ripped the knife from Gray's hand. He was panting, eyes bloodshot. "You've lost your mind! There's no ritual! We have to leave!" He turned toward the statue, raised his hammer, and swung. The sound of metal striking stone exploded, echoed, rolled back, like thunder from beneath the earth. The floor shook. My chest tightened. My ears rang. The air thickened, heavy, cold. I couldn't breathe. The grass outside the chamber bowed down. Dust floated. Slow, suspended, like time itself had slowed. Then something began to rise. From the bottom of the well. No shape, no sound. Just a mass of darkness. Thick, moving, like molten metal and mud. The smell of ash and iron hit my throat, made me gag. It reached out and touched Nico. He stumbled back, too late. I lunged forward, grabbed his arm. His skin was slick, cold like oil. I pulled, but the thing yanked harder. So fast it knocked me flat. When I looked up, he was gone. Just a thin wisp of black smoke dissolving in the air. No scream, nothing. Only the sound of my heartbeat. Loud, crushing. The carvings lit up. Lines of light snaked across the walls, bright like veins on fire. The air turned thick and sticky. Every breath felt like drowning. Sasha grabbed my arm. Her hand was ice cold. "We have to go, now!" Gray knelt by the well, blood dripping from both hands. His eyes locked on the thing below. "It's hungry," he whispered. "And I am the first disciple." His voice trembled, but he sounded almost happy. The shadow surged upward, huge, almost touching the ceiling. Thick strands of blackness crawled along the walls, across the floor, into the air. One brushed my shoulder, ice cold, like a hand gripping my heart. I screamed, but I didn't hear it. Sasha pulled me. We ran. A gust of freezing wind followed, wet, heavy, like something crawling after us through the dark. I slipped on the stone floor, scraping my hand on the cold rock. The flashlight rolled away, its beam spinning across the walls, and in that flash, I saw it. Something. Looking back, behind us, the sound of stone cracking, metal scraping bone. The noises grew closer, not fast, but steady, like it was following the rhythm of our breathing. The ground pulsed, soft, slow, like the heartbeat of something waking up. Then, through the grinding noise, a voice. Deep, low, vibrating inside my chest. We ran up the steps, clawed for the surface. When we reached the light, the sun was gone. The whole forest was dark, silent. No wind, no sound, only our hearts pounding. Then from deep below, through the cold, through the dark, a whisper rose, right beside my ear. Don't leave me hungry. I turned and looked back. Down there, Gray's flashlight was still on, but it was shaking. Then it blinked out. In the dark beneath the ruins, he stood alone. The stone well gaped wide open, like a creature breathing in. Something rose from it, thick, black, like ink twisting in the air. Dark tendrils curled upward, half man, half shadow. It reached for Gray. He didn't move back. He opened his arms, like greeting a lost child. The darkness wrapped around him, slowly, tightening. His skin turned gray, cracked. Bones lit up under the flashlight. But Gray, he was still smiling, wide, so wide it tore at the corners of his mouth. I heard him whisper something. His voice broke in the wind. Then he was gone, pulled into the black. Sasha grabbed my hand. She was shaking hard. Her breath stuck to the thick, heavy air. "Run," I said. She whispered back, voice breaking. "I don't think we're getting out." I pulled her, panting. "Just run. Don't look back." She gave me a quick smile, thin, tired. That was the last time I saw her smile. We reached the exit. Gray light from outside cut a thin line into the dark. I stepped forward and froze. Standing right there was me. Not a shadow, not a hallucination. An exact copy. Same clothes. Same little scratch on my left wrist. It stood in the way, head slightly tilted, smiling, twisted, like it was still learning how. Sasha stepped back. "What? What the hell?" I wanted to scream. Tell her to run. But before I could, the thing reached out, gently touched her shoulder. She flinched. The light at the tunnel's mouth blurred, like it was being swallowed. She froze, eyes wide, couldn't even gasp. Her body jerked, then stopped, eyes still open, staring blankly at the stone ceiling. I touched her. Her skin went cold faster than I expected. A thin line of blood slipped down my finger. Warm. I didn't know if it was hers or mine. The silence around us was so heavy, every drop echoed like a countdown. 1, 2, gone. I looked around. Just her. But not her anymore. Just a body, cold and heavy in my arms. I dropped to my knees, stone sharp against my legs. I laid her down carefully. My breathing broke apart. My body shook from fear or exhaustion. I couldn't tell. There was nothing left to do. No one left to call. Only the sound of my heart. Slow, heavy like it was learning how to stop. And in that silence, something slipped in. Soft, warm, almost familiar. I don't know why, but I wanted to close my eyes, not to hide, but like I was returning somewhere I used to belong. I let my head drop. I didn't know if I was giving up or finally letting go. In that short moment, I heard breathing, close, exactly like mine. My eyes burned, everything blurred. Sasha, Gray, Tomas, just faint lights now. I tried to stand, but my legs didn't answer. Below me, the black well still waited. Silent, open. I heard something, not a voice, a rhythm. Soft, slow, merging with my heartbeat. I closed my eyes, and images rushed in. Light filtering through old curtains. The scent of wet smoke from rainy season air. A voice calling me from a distance. Light, warm, like a dream. I sat up. My hands were still covered in dirt, and for a moment I saw another hand, smaller, gripping mine. Everything flickered. Trees, fog, mud, a figure walking behind me, face blurred in the light. We were going somewhere. The forest, maybe, or this place. I stepped back, heart pounding. That's not me. Cold crept up my neck. A voice whispered, soft as breath. You remember. I shook my head, clenched my fists. No, I don't remember anything. The voice stayed calm, almost kind. That's okay. Everyone forgets. They all remember eventually. The ground trembled. Light spilled from somewhere. Not bright, but warm, like fire in your hands. I closed my eyes. That warmth spread over my skin. Too comforting, too gentle. When I opened them again, I was standing in a forest. No more mud, no more cold. Sunlight streamed through the leaves. Soft. So clean it made me squint. Gray. Sasha. Tomas. Nico. They were all there, smiling, their hands still covered in dirt. No one spoke. No insects. Only wind brushing through my hair, warm but hollow. I wanted to ask, did we make it out? But my throat was raw. No sound came. Then that noise came again. Deep, steady, repeating, like a heartbeat, or a helicopter's rotor very far away. I turned toward it. The ground cracked. thin lines of light spreading like cracks in water. Everything around me started to dissolve. Slow, soft, silent. Someone whispered close, "Wake up." I tried to step back. My legs didn't move. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I didn't know why. In that pale glow, I heard a voice. Small, distant, like it came from the bottom of a lake. Was I here before? No one answered. Only the wind changed direction. Just a little, and in that moment, I think I smiled. I don't remember where I collapsed. Just the feeling of falling. Long, cold. Then a different kind of light, sharper, more real, cut through my eyelids and pulled me out of the endless dark. When I opened my eyes, I heard the sound of a helicopter above. Someone was calling my name, in a language I didn't understand. A blinding white light hit my face. The air was dry and cold. It smelled like oil and burnt metal. I realized I was on a stretcher. My body was trembling. My throat burned. My chest felt like someone was sitting on it. They said they found me near the forest edge, alone, nearly 20 miles from the research station, covered in mud, torn, bruised, deep claw marks down to the bone. One of the rescue workers leaned in and asked, "Who were you with?" I spoke their names. My voice cracked as I said them. Gray, Sasha, Nico, Tomas. I said, "We were a survey team." He didn't write anything down, just stared at me for a long time. His eyes were somewhere between suspicion and pity. The next day, 2 officers came. They kept asking the same questions, over and over. Then one of them said quietly, "There's no record of any expedition. No permits, no satellite signals, no registered names, no data. Every trace like it never existed." I lay in a hospital room, plain white walls. The air conditioner buzzed endlessly. The smell of antiseptic mixed with burnt skin. I looked down at my hands, still stained with dried blood, and I wondered, had I really made it out of that forest? Night. The room was so quiet I could hear my heartbeat. I opened a new notebook and started to write. Every detail, a Polaroid, a stone altar, the black well, the faceless god. Gray, Sasha, Nico, Tomas. Every word I wrote felt like carving into stone. I was afraid. If I stopped, they would disappear, just like they did. I never went back to that jungle, never searched, never researched, never answered questions. I just wrote, because something inside me whispered, this isn't over. Sometimes, late in the afternoon, when the light through the window turns red and the breeze carries the smell of damp soil, I hear footsteps, half a beat behind me. I turn. No one there. And sometimes, in the mirror, just for a second, I see a face, exactly like mine, watching from the shadows behind me. Sometimes I think, maybe he was the one who got rescued, or maybe he was never left behind at all.